Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I am coming back at you with another wargaming and miniature video. In this video, we're going to continue on with my American War of Independence project update. I'm doing 15mm, and I'm basing it for a game called Land of the Free. This is the Dearborn Light Infantry. That's what I'm going to be using them for, is the Dearborn Light Infantry. Basically, they're just a New Hampshire Light Infantry unit, a Continental regiment. I'm not doing each company, like each row, a different uniform or different colored jackets, because the light infantry would be potentially the light companies from a different regiments at the battle would be consolidated into one battalion, and that's not what I'm doing. I'm just doing a unit that's cohesive and looks like, and using the light infantry. Now, I had to fill it with a couple of other models for command and things like that, which I believe those extra command figures are Blue Moon command. I think, I can't remember, but I think this guy, and this guy are all Blue Moon. I think the drummer and the officer are part of the Old Glory light infantry pack that it came with. But I definitely wanted to have a standard, a flag, so I had to pull a flag bearer from another pack, and I didn't want it to be, standardless. I didn't want the unit to have no standards. All right, so one thing I did not do, and I'm visualizing this now on the video, I didn't paint the edges of the bases. Yeah, I need to go down and paint the edge of the base black, and I'll probably just paint the back of the base white. Put a white strip, because that's the facing colors of this regiment. All right, let me pull out another unit. All right, now this regiment is the 4th New York. The 4th New York wore pretty much white uniforms with red facings, so the back of these bases are going to be red. They wore the light infantry or cut down caps, so with horsehair on the top. So that's how I painted them up. Something I noticed was the GMB New York flag is ginormous. As you can see, it's a huge flag, but I like that. It gives the unit character. Now, the 4th was actually at the Battle of Freeman's Farm, so this is a perfect representation of that unit. Now these bases, I haven't done the edges either. And let me know what you think of this unit, all my units that you see. And what I'm going to do is, there's a few other things as part of this update that I wanted to share with you. So let me show you those right quick. Okay, so I was planning on making some Z or snake fencing or what have you, and I was going to use these balsa wood sticks that I have, but it looks like they are too big, in my opinion. This fence here looks like these logs are too thick. It would work in a pinch, obviously, but I think I want my fence rails or posts to be just a little bit thinner. I think these are 3 millimeters, I think a 2 millimeter square might be best. Uh, yeah, so I'll have to check and see what kind of other um, balsa wood dowel, square dowels that I could get and figure it out from there. Um, yeah, so these fences I probably am not going to use. I mean, this thickness. All right, now I made some of these type of fencing. Now I think this type of fencing is the right size. It's just too tall. So instead of 10 uh, cross pieces, I'm going to put 8. So it's going to be 2 shorter. But I like the gap, the spacing of the uprights, and the thickness of the stick. I'm using a 10 millimeter stick, and I'm putting these all about 20 millimeters apart, something like that. It might be 15 millimeters apart. I'll have to double check, but they're just a little bit too tall. Now I could cut this down. I could rip off the top 2 strands, and I could cut the uprights down a little bit lower, which I'm not going to do on this piece. This is my test piece, and it's okay to have a tall fence. Tall fence. There's nothing wrong with tall fences. I just don't want them to be that tall. I want it to be a little bit shorter. Okay, so these are test pieces, and now that I know how I want to make these, I can crank some out. And what I'm probably going to do is do a tutorial. All right, let me pull out some of my town sectors that I was working on, and let me pull this camera back a little bit, and I'll show you that. All right, this is the first one. It's got a picket fence, and it's got a 15 millimeter building. It's a 6x6 square. I flocked it using Woodland Scenics, and I put the ground texture on there as well. So these are 15 millimeter figures that would be used to show that I have units deployed in this town sector, or what have you want to call it. Yeah, so that's really good. And these fences were, they're production plastic ABS fencing. They are HO scale. And I feel like the HO scale fencing works really well with the 15 millimeter figures. Now, this building is not glued down. So if for whatever reason I might need to put a unit in the back, or maybe I want to deploy, maybe this is a large unit, and it's got 5 bases. There should be no problem getting them all in there. And this moves around. I could put different types of buildings depending on whatever the situation is, But my plan for the Freeman's Farm battle is to use this plantational building in the picket fence town sector. All right, now I've got more of a maybe not a garden, but maybe a town sector that's got hedges around, right? And basically the same thing. As you can see, this is not glued down. You know, you can put it anywhere in here, just whatever floats your boat. Now I thought about putting like trees or something like that in the town sector just to give it a little bit more life. But I think I'm okay right there with this hedge. If you watch my live streams that I do, my Wargaming Weeklies, uh, I I I put uh, I build these on those live streams. Now there's what's the word I'm looking for? They're not fully completed during the live stream, mainly because I have to allow like glue to dry and stuff like that. So like the hedges were coated in a coarse turf and then left to dry, and then I knocked everything off. And then I did a walled courtyard. Looks like there's no road or no trail or whatever, but you don't need a trail, right? I could always add a trail afterwards. I can go in with some texture paste and put a trail down, which is kind of what I've been thinking I'm going to do. But these walls were actually made using sheets of cork and then cut and glued onto the 6x6 plywood, and then I spray painted the whole thing like a brown. Then I went over the cork with like a light earth tone to give it like a stucco, like a wall that had been coated in plaster, but it's aged. Now I've done some just plain squares, and those plain squares can be anything, right? They can be. I could put a barn on there. I could put a church on there. I could even put a windmill, a water. What do you call it? Not a windmill, but a water wheel mill on there. Now there is a mill on the Freeman's Farm map. There's Freeman's Farm, there's Coulter's Farm, and there's a mill, and I think there's another farm, Baker's Farm or something like that. And that can be any. Again, I can just throw down any of these, boards. And I have a green one here. Got a couple of green ones actually. Whoops. That I did do a road or a path, and you could drop that on there, just simple. And these can be moved around if depending on the size of the base or the unit configuration or whatever in the town sector. Now there's only going to be like 5 or 6 town sectors, but I made more than 5 or 6 of these boards because I plan to use them in other game systems as well, primarily O Group. Now the one I put the mill on, I was thinking about making a bespoke town sector and adding a little bit of a water feature where I can put the mill on the town sector and it'll have a path going to the door, but it'll also have a water feature for the wheel. You know, it's just thinking. Okay, let me put this up. In Land of the Free, the town sectors range from 3-inch squares to 6-inch to 9-inch to 12-inch. And in my opinion, I think 9 and 12 are just way too big. This 6 is the largest I think I'll ever need. All right, now I'm working on some artillery pieces for both the Continentals, the Hessians, and the British. And they're on 40 by 40 squares. These in this box here are all British. And then these here, 2 of these are Continental Grasshopper guns because they're super small. And then 2 of them are Hessian 6-pounders. The Hessian 6-pounders, 1 Grasshopper gun, are going to be at Freeman's farm, as well as these guns. Now, I have a total of 11 guns, and there's not going to be 11 total guns at Freeman's farm. There's only 8, but I decided just to go ahead and put them all together and paint them and put crew around them and stuff like that. There was a howitzer in the package, in the Old Glory pack. So what I did was I went through my scenarios, and I did find that there is a scenario that uses the howitzer, and you might notice the carriage differences on some of these guns. There are carriage differences. So there's a 3-pounder, if I remember right. Yep, 3-pound guns. There's got 2 of those. I got 2 of the 6-pounders. Okay, let me just see if I can. Yep. So 2 3, 2 6, and 2 12s for, and of course the howitzer for the British. Now there are no 12s at Freeman Farm, right? There's no 12-pounders, and there's no howitzer. But I can still field these and just proxy them in as the 6-pound guns that they need to be, or the 3-pound guns, because the British actually did have some 3-pound guns there. So everything else will be a 6-pounder. In here I've got the crew, and all I've done so far is prime them. Now, my next thing is to go ahead and get these guys painted up and ready to go. You know, there is no cavalry at Freeman's farm, so I don't have to concern myself with putting together any cavalry for the scenario. But if I wanted to put the cavalry, like a unit of cavalry together for the boot camp that's coming up, just to show people the basing and maneuvering of cavalry and stuff like that, I'll still need to put together some light dragoons or something for the boot camp. Now, I am going to be starting a boot camp either tomorrow or the next day, and it's just because I film it tomorrow doesn't mean it's going to go up on the channel tomorrow. I'll have to edit it and render it and stuff like that, and put my screenshots from the book of the charts and things like that, whatever's necessary to help explain the rules, because that's what the boot camp is. It's a deep dive on the rules, and so the editing might take a day or 2. So by the end of the week, you might see the first episode of the boot camp. following up with the Old Glory order that I got in, it was missing a couple of bags, but luckily they weren't American War of Independence bags, and they weren't. It wasn't the Free Army that they sent me. It was just a couple of Napoleonic bags that were left out of the order, and I notified them like the day after I did the inventory because I double checked. I made sure I put all the bags back in the box, and then I went back in the box and double checked and triple checked and counted them and compared them to the invoice. And there were 2 bags missing. So I sent them a note saying that those 2 bags were missing and put it in the back of my mind. I didn't consider, I wasn't in any rush to get them. I knew that they were going to either give me a refund or credit my account or send me new bags or something, because I know Old Glory is very good about their customer service. Yesterday I went into the mailbox and lo and behold, there was a package with those 2 missing units. So that was like super fast turnaround, less than a week actually. So I was super happy with that. Yeah, the only thing left to do for this project would be to make the rivers that I need to make and the roads that I need to make and the hedges and fencing for the farms and stuff like that. So I do have to do terrain plus the units. I've got probably about half of the units finished. I have the majority of the Brunswickers that I haven't done yet, and I haven't done the lights or the grenadiers for the British, or the I haven't done the riflemen or the 2nd New Hampshire for the Continentals, or some of the Massachusetts units. So what I did was I went through all my figures from that order and the ones that I already possessed, and I separated them into the units that they needed to be in for me to paint them and mount them on bases. And then I put them in Ziploc bags and labeled them so that each bag is a regiment. So if I wanted to do the 2nd New Hampshire, all I got to do is reach in, grab the 2nd New Hampshire bag, and go to town. So so everything's ready. I just have to paint them. All right, guys. Thanks for coming out and checking out this project update. There should be more on the way. And if you are interested in picking up some of those Old Glory figures that I just got in, or any other figures that I have, you should check out my eBay store. And if you want me to take a break from painting my own figures and paint some of your figures, you should contact me at this email address, and I would be glad to do that on commission. All right. Well, I'll catch you in the next one.